Hey everyone, I'm Pat Mayo here with the king of RotoExperts. He is fantasy, he is Scott Engel. And today we're talking about Giancarlo Stanton'S horrible start. Scott, any chance that he turns this around anytime soon?
Well, he's got to turn it around because there's nowhere to go but up. But I honestly am worried about Stanton. I spent some time around the Marlins recently. And look, we all know how talented Stanton is. And you can look at it from a blanket baseball perspective and say there's nobody in the lineup around him. But it's even more pronounced than you can talk about generically. You know, talking to Stanton and talking to people around the Marlins it's a very, very depressing situation. I think there's some optimism among the coaching staff and some of the veterans that the lineup can get things turned around. But it's such a gloomy atmosphere around the team that even when Stanton turned things around, the final numbers might not merit that first or second round pick that you spent on him.
Okay, so last year he doesn't hit his first home run until April 29th. And of course he hasn't having home runs this year. Is it just a slow start thing with him? How do I want to buy low right now? Because to me, that's the way it looks.
Well, last year, you have to remember, he had a knee injury last year. That was part of the reason. I spoke to Stanton. He said, you know, he's fully healthy. He's happy with that, or as happy as he could appear to be. So I think it's more of a thing than the slow start. I wouldn't buy low on Stanton because I think unless he gets traded, that it's going to be a really, really negative situation in Miami all year long. That lineup's going to get better, Pat, but there's still no power in it, and there's nobody that can protect Giancarlo Stanton, and that's an issue.
Now, one of the things that I've noticed, digging into the advanced numbers a little bit, and it's such a small sample size that there's a lot of variables at play here, but things that really stick out is that his contact rate in pitches inside the strike zone has actually gone up, but he's not squaring the ball up at all. So he's actually seeing more fastballs, more pitches inside the strike zone. He's just not hitting line drives. He has one line drive through 11 games so far. So I think that if that flips around, which it should, just by sheer averages, that you're going to see his average go back up. So I think he is a really nice buy low right now. And I think that kind of statement with lineup protection and that maybe he's not, and I think a lot of people sort of feel that way because that's how the numbers look like they're going. But I think even if he gets back just to average, even a little bit below average of what he was doing the last few years, I think he's going to be tremendous value. Because what do you think you can get him for right now? Like if I'm a Mike Stanton owner and I want to sell him, what do I give up?
I think a lot of fantasy owners are anxious to sell on Mike Stanton because it's not a thing of just reacting to a slow start. This kind of thing has been going on since the offseason. Now, before I get to your point, though, you talk about his discipline in the strike zone. Stanton improved last year because opponents said he started to lay off a lot of pitches that he would flail at earlier in his career. And I asked Stanton, and he admitted it. He's becoming a more disciplined hitter. And Rob Brantley said he would just love to pull up a chair and get some popcorn and watch batting practice. But I think Stanton's going to get better. But I don't think it's first or second round better, and I don't know if you want to trade for that. But I think maybe it might take two decent star players maybe to get a Giancarlo Stanton.
Okay, let's say you just wanted to make a 1-for-1 deal, almost a challenge trade in normal baseball, so a challenge fantasy trade. Paul Goldschmidt or Mike Stanton? Giancarlo Stanton.
I can't think like that, Pat, because when I think
enough.
about trades, you have to fill a need or you got to upgrade. Let's say that I'll put it to you this way. Let's say that I have a lot of speed, okay, and I want to upgrade in power. Would I trade Jose Reyes to get Giancarlo Stanton right now? I probably wouldn't do that. Maybe a lesser speedster than Jose Reyes.
Okay, so what you're saying is that right now, if we were to redraft at the beginning of the day, you're looking at him as more of a fourth round value instead of a second round value?
I would say a third round value. He probably wouldn't end up on my team for something like that.
No, because there's probably still someone who's going to reach on that potential. To me, I still think he's a second-round player. I think he's just going to be fine after all this. He's classic slow starts last 2 years. Another slow start this year.
Last year he was hurt, though.
Last year he was hurt, but then he got hurt again later in the year, and he still ended up with mid-30 home runs and the best isolated power in all of baseball.
It's a very, very depressing situation there in Miami.
It is, but
you have to take the intangibles into account.
It's hard to take the intangibles into account, though, because some people in a depressing situation, they get depressed themselves. Other ones persevere in that situation. It's hard to tell from each person handles each situation differently and each reaction differently. So I guess
since last fall, Giancarlo Stanton has been very unhappy in Miami.
Yeah, but some guys get unhappy and they crush the ball even harder. It's just each person reacts differently to it. I think that's
we haven't seen small sample size.
Very small sample size.
I'm not saying he can't crush the ball, but I'm just saying it's not going to be to the expectations. I think when a lot of people had drafted him in the first round, because honestly, there's no protection around him, and he's not going to get all the pitches he wants to see.
So no buy low. You're holding him for right now, or you're trying to sell him.
I'm not saying I wouldn't trade for him.
If the value is right, you should trade for anyone.
Like I said, I would not trade a Jose Reyes for him right now. Maybe if you wanted Ian Kinsler from me, I would do it.